outside of the Freedom 100. They're the main headline here, and people love them. They come out just to see these guys. It's a very tight circuit. It's all very technical with the low-speed corners, so they've got to handle the bumps. They've got to handle the traction issues that come with these cars and trying to put the power down. It's a difficult course to try and master, and only the quick guys can get it done.
Well, you see the starting grid, Vautier and Munoz there in row number 1, Jackman and Guerrieri in 2, Dempsey and Saavedra in row number 3. In row number 4, Carboni and Webb. And you'll see the rest of the field as they come our way. Jake Query, this is a big event for, as we mentioned, the 3 drivers still in the championship. But that said, there are 8 other drivers that want to win this race as well.
And that includes Gustavo Jackman, who will start this race 3rd. Thought he had a chance at the points championship, as he told me a couple of events ago. If those Schmidt guys keep wrecking each other out, I've got a chance. Obviously, Jackman now finds himself 56 points out of the points lead, Mike. But going to be interesting to see as he starts in that 3rd position, maybe a little bit aggressive. That could mean something for Tristan Vautier on pole. Esteban Guerrieri just behind him. We'll have to watch him as well.
10th race of the 12 that make up the 2012 championship schedule for the Firestone Indy Lights drivers. Joseph will watch the start here. Tristan Vautier desperately needs a win as he starts this race 3rd in the championship.
Tristan's got a great start into turn 1 there. He holds everyone off fine. Jackman files right into P2, so everyone looks pretty clean to start with.
So Tristan Vautier in the red, white, and blue number 77 car, but on the outside it looks like Dempsey. Nice move there. So Dempsey's going to pick up a move, and very narrow part of the race course here, Joseph.
And as you can see, the track's damp as well, so these guys are kind of being easy, and Dempsey's one of the most aggressive guys in the series. He's very good on these slippery conditions.
Boy, here he comes. He's going to try to go to the front here, Jake Query, and boy, the Bilardi car, not quite enough there on the outside.
Peter Dempsey then takes a look to the inside on Vautier, but once again, Tristan Vautier going to shut that door now side by side, and here goes Dempsey going to try to look to the outside, Mike. Obviously very aggressive early for that number 9 machine.
Wow, and Joseph, Peter Dempsey is going to go to the front. The Bilardi car working well here on this first lap.
He set that up perfect. He went through in the wet section. He set Vautier up, and then on the dry section, he was able to outbrake him. It was a beautiful move.
Boy, how about Peter Dempsey plus 4 positions on the first lap as we take a look at the pass that. Well, this gives him position. This has him going to P2 right here. Joseph, talk us through that pass.
So what he did was he really went around the outside of P2 and got the slingshot almost in a drier section of the track. People think that would be a dirtier side of the line, but it's actually more rubber down there. With a damp track, it's actually less grip. So he did a good job of going around the outside, taking the grip advantage, getting the setup, and then getting right behind Vautier to take the run into the next corner.
So as Dempsey started 5th, you know, Jake, we have talked an awful lot during this season about Peter Dempsey, the fact that he is a quality driver who simply has not been able to buy a break in 2012.
And a lot of that comes from, and Joseph, perhaps you can shed some light on this, but when you're a driver trying to establish yourself, trying to get a full-time ride in a quality seat, Peter Dempsey, we saw it. For example, we saw at Belle Isle, when he can get a little bit too aggressive, then obviously he can run into problems. But tremendously talented. But Joseph, you're always kind of looking to try to prove yourself. I think with Peter Dempsey, that's the case.
Absolutely. You know what? He's never really had a fair shot in any lights, I don't think. When he's got a secure ride and he's stable in a series, he's proved in Star Mazda that he's one of the best drivers in North America. He's very, very talented, very, very quick. I think he just tries to prove himself too much when he doesn't have quite a secure ride. And really right now he's got a great opportunity with Bilardi, and they've given him a great chance to run his car, and I think he's proven exactly why he should be in this series, and he should have a championship run.
2011 Firestone Indy Lights champ Joseph Newgarden joining us here, our coverage of the 2012 Firestone Indy Lights Championship on the NBC Sports Network as we watch the race leader, Peter Dempsey. And Joseph, now that Dempsey has gone to the front, made it look relatively easy here early on, the rest of the field, what are they now going to do to pace themselves as we see now the track begin to dry out just a bit?
It's all management at the moment. You don't want to ball the car up too early. You can see it's still damp in certain spots. Again, this is Peter's kind of his comfort zone. He's very good in these intermediate conditions. But everyone else, I think, is trying to see out how the track develops, and they want it to kind of dry in first. There's nothing that you have to do to risk the car. You want to be careful here. It's a long race for these Indy Lights races, and really need to feel it out in the first part.
Well, he's beginning to open it up just a bit here, Jake. He's got a good 4 or 5 car length lead now.
He does, and you've got to wonder also with Tristan Vautier, when you are contending for a points championship and you saw Dempsey get a little bit squirrely early as he was aggressive, Joseph, I would think for Vautier, you might want to think if you're Tristan Vautier, you know what, I'm going to let him go ahead and get the lead. Points right now is what you've got to be concerned about if you're Tristan Vautier, bringing the car home clean.
Absolutely. He's got nothing to worry about with Peter. He's only worried about Esteban right now. He's ahead of him in the points battle, judging by where they are on track. That's all his focus is. He's not worried about winning the race necessarily. He's got to finish ahead of Esteban. That's his main priority.
Yeah, and Jake Peter, on the other hand, needs to worry about nothing more than winning the race, because he comes in 12th in the championships. As you mentioned, it's been kind of an on-again, off-again situation for Dempsey this year. So it's win or nothing, really, win or bust for Peter Dempsey at this point.
Trying to salvage something on what obviously has been a frustrating season, I'm sure, for Peter Dempsey, and the fact that you're hopping from ride to ride. You're trying, as Joseph mentioned, trying to prove yourself, trying to prove that you belong in this series, that you can win in this series. I don't think anybody has ever questioned that about Peter Dempsey, but once he gets consistency with the team, understands the car, now we're seeing what he's capable of doing.
Well, you see the race leaders scrolling across the top of your screen and the intervals, and Esteban Guerrieri, Joseph, this guy's a good race car driver, former teammate of yours. You know, he kind of in many ways saw a championship slip away last year when he had an opportunity to win. You took it from him last year. He comes in with a 27-point lead. He cannot allow this one to go away this year.
He's got a great opportunity this year, and he had a great one last year as well. We had a really good battle, but you know what? It's a tough championship. You got to learn how to manage it.
Peter Dempsey is the leader on the streets of Trois Rivieres. Firestone Indy Lights on NBC Sports Network is brought to you by TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install. Tire Rack. At the confluence of the St. Maurice and St. Lawrence Rivers, Jake Query, 2011 Firestone Indy Lights champ Joseph Newgarden. I'm Mike King, bringing you coverage of the GP3R, the Grand Prix of Trois Rivieres, as we watch Peter Dempsey out in front. I've only done that now, Jake, 3 or 4 times this season. I want to continue to make Peter Dempsey the actor Patrick Dempsey.
You know, I actually told Peter Dempsey earlier this year that he should be happy because I was watching a sports car race, saw Patrick Dempsey, and called him Peter. So see, it all comes full circle.
Oh,
Pass for the lead,
as
Mike.
we say that, have we jinxed him just a bit as Tristan Vautier, Joseph Newgarden, goes rocketing by the car that took the lead on the opening lap, and it looks like problems for Peter Dempsey in the 9 car.
This is one of the worst things you can have happen as a driver. He feels completely helpless here. You see he's got some kind of problem. It's probably a gearbox related
See the hand
issue.
go up. Oh, man.
He's helpless at this moment.
So as he watches Tristan Vautier, Gustavo Jacobin, and the rest pass him by, Joseph, the feeling that Peter must have in the car right now, that's difficult because clearly he had a great race.
The difficult thing is all that work that he did at the beginning of the race, that goes for nothing now. It's a very difficult position he's in. That's one of the worst feelings as a driver. You went out there, you did your job, and to have something go wrong, the team's not going to be happy about it, and the driver is certainly not going to be happy about it.
Well, Jake, there has been no such thing as the luck of the Irish for Peter Dempsey, the Irishman, this year, and he dejectedly, it looks like, going to climb out, is done here early at Trois Rivieres.
Yep, if not for bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. Look at the disappointment as Peter Dempsey's day has come to an end. Joseph, let me ask you, too. We see the track surface here, as you had mentioned earlier. Dry portions of it, but there is moisture. Now, when you're in the car and you have a track that has predominant dry portions but areas that are wet, do you have to treat the entire course as if there's moisture, or can you actually feel different grip? Does that moisture stay on the tires the entire circuit?
That's the difficult thing about this place. You know, there's portions where there's concrete and there's portions where there's asphalt, and they dry at different rates. So as a driver, that's one of the skills you need to have, is to try and manage that damp track and really feel out the grip level. And again, like I was saying before, Peter Dempsey, that's one of his best techniques. He's very, very talented at filling out the grip level of even a circuit that he doesn't know very well. So it's a difficult thing for a driver, and really it's a chance where you can shine. If you don't quite have the dry pace, you can still really outdrive people in a damp surface.
You, of course, had to deal, you and all the competitors had to deal with a lot of moisture on the track last year. In fact, the closing stages of this one in 2011 really became a bit wild as Tristan Vautier has inherited the lead That's not probably the way that he wanted to take the lead in this race, but at this point, battling for a championship, Joseph, he's going to take anything he can get.
Absolutely, and he's looking really good. This is a very difficult place to pass. Connor Daly last year was hounding Esteban last year, and he was quicker than him. He was much quicker than him, but he could not get around him. He was on his gearbox all race, couldn't get around him. That's what made Peter's kind of assault there in the beginning of that race even more impressive. It's a very, very difficult place to pass.
So the Belardi team, all they can do is stare at that car, and boy, you see the big side, Jake, from that young man. You know, the good thing in all of this is the fact that this team seems to have gelled a bit. Peter, it looks like, has found a home in Belardi. The team has basically said we expect for him to be with us in all of 2013.
Yeah, I think Brian Belardi would love to see, obviously, Peter Dempsey return to that car full-time, get, as Joseph had mentioned, stability over the course of the season.
So Peter Dempsey, who went to the front after he started 5th, he is out of this one. Let's go downstairs, find out what happened.
Yeah, I mean, the guys did a great job all weekend. I told them I promised them we'd get a good start, and we did that. And I was really just sitting out front, controlling the pace. I didn't want to burn out the tires. You know, everyone at Belardi Auto Racing has done such a good job, and it's the first time we've led a race with the True Fuel number 9 car, so we're definitely going the right direction. Unfortunately, we had a slight gearbox problem just there in the race, and I had to retire. But you know, it's a solid weekend. We led our first laps. We're getting better. You know, we're going to get there. But it's a tough break. You know, not what we needed. But we'll keep our hopes high.
So the driver from Ashburn, Ireland, looked good early, but he is out of this one. And Joseph, you pegged it. It was in fact a gearbox issue. Meantime, we see that the 76 of Juan Pablo Garcia, Jake, he is also in the pits early.
And that is another team that has struggled over the course of the year. Jeffrey Marks Motorsports, you know, they came into the season. He teamed up with Brian Herta to just kind of learn. And I think he'd be the first to admit that this season has been just about learning, operating a team, trying to get himself a competitive car. But obviously another frustrating weekend for Juan Pablo Garcia.
Well, Sebastian Saavedra has gotten around Esteban Guerrieri. So Guerrieri, who came into this event with a 27-point lead, right now, Joseph, he's got to be feeling a little bit of pressure in the cockpit. You know, do you think about points while you're in the middle of a race and you see one of those competitors get around you and you know a guy chasing you is out in front?
It's different for everyone. Really, I don't think you should. Me last year, the approach I took is if I'm maximizing my potential, I'm doing the best job I can, I'll let the points settle out at the end of the race. And really, you just focused on finishing as well as you possibly could each weekend, maximizing you and your team's potential. And I think that's what Esteban's doing. You know, he's letting these races come to him. If he's going to finish 3rd, if he's going to finish 4th, if that's his best result for the weekend, he's going to take it. He's not going to push anything. He's not going to overdrive the car. And I think we've seen incredible consistency for him this year compared to last year.
Is it different when you're racing your teammate for a championship as opposed to, say, for example, Sebastian Saavedra or Gustavo Jacquemin?
It is different, but it really shouldn't be. Your competitors and your teammates at the same time. Last year, it was actually pretty easy running against Esteban. We had a really good friendship, and we kind of understood that kind of balance, that we were teammates, but we were also competitors on the racetrack. And I think we had a good balance on and off, and that made it easy for us. And I think the chemistry really that they have at Sam Schmidt Motorsports, they kind of make that situation a lot easier too. So I think Tristan and him, they're going to have an okay time with this, but it's really sort of the same situation as we had last year with him and I. So it's been a very interesting battle to watch transpire this year.
Well, Jake, right now it looks like we could have a battle shaping up for 2nd, but Tristan Vautier is really starting to put a lot of space between himself and 2nd place Gustavo Jacquemin.
Tristan Vautier at one point this year, Mike, had put a lot of space between himself and the rest of the field in points. And then look at what happened in Toronto. Involved in an incident early, had to sit on the wall, watch that race. The disappointment set in. Things came easily for him at the beginning of this season. But Joseph, you know, part of obviously a developmental series like the Firestone Indy Lights is learning how to deal with that adversity, bounce back, put a race behind you, and move on to the next week. And for a guy like Tristan Vautier, this would go a long way in doing that.
Absolutely. It's supposed to teach you those lessons. That's what it's here for. It's a developmental series. It's supposed to help you transfer into the IndyCar series. And really, if you don't go through those lessons now, then you're going to have to go through them at some point. So going through the highs and lows is really all part of it. You've got to experience everything.
It's the battle for 4th place, and this is Esteban Guerrieri in that blue and white car moving to the inside, Joseph.
That was a great move. Pretty textbook. Got a nice little toe, got on the inside and outbraked him.
So Sebastian Saavedra, who had worked hard to get around Guerrieri a couple of laps earlier, Jake, he's going to give the position up And now Guerrieri is going to try to reel in those 3 cars running in front of him.
And think about how important that is in the points race as well. Coming into this one, Sebastian Saavedra had obviously tried to close the gap on Esteban Guerrieri. It was 27 points. He was back.
Okay, let's take a look back, Joseph, at this pass. Guerrieri going to 4th.
Yeah, as you can see, I think he got a little difficult of a run off the corner, and Esteban saw that. He got a nice little toe, got on the inside. You can see he's a little slippery there. He kind of struggled locking the brakes a little bit on the back, but he finished it off real clean on the exit.
Esteban Guerrieri trying to track down Tristan Vautier on the streets of Trois Rivieres.